Yo, what is good, guys? Kaz back again. How's everybody feeling? Appreciate you guys coming through as always. I know it's definitely been a minute since we sat down and talked, or I put out a video or anything like that. But we're slowly but surely getting back to it. How you guys been doing? I see we got a couple of the usuals in the chat just starting off. We got Runner, General Kenobi, 89 Giving Act, Herald of Thunder, Scott Preacher Man. How you been, Preach? Hope you been good. I just got your message not too long ago too. Infinity, DJ No Good, Digital Variable, Morning. Oh man, the day is almost done over here, but I think you are in like New Zealand or something like that. But what's up to you? Dr. Shane, Rockstar. Yeah, it's been a long time, man. Like I said, I just had a lot going on and just restructuring some things, just figuring out some different things and all of that good stuff. What's up, James Davis? What's up, Kev's Collection? How's everybody doing, King J? Yep, I'm going to see it tonight. I got my tickets set up. I'm going to be seeing it in a few hours. Um, yeah. Looking forward to just seeing how things kick off for Phase 4, but it's definitely I've definitely been hearing some interesting reviews for it. Before its release. Turn that down a bit. But yeah, we're back, bro. I've been clearing my backlog. Please, no spoilers. I haven't seen it yet, so it's like I couldn't spoil it if I wanted it. If I wanted, I mean, well, I guess if I've been looking into spoilers, I probably could, but I haven't even seen the movie yet, and I'm not. I don't look to ruin people's experience or anything like that. This is a conversation about this. So this Rotten Tomato score, and I've been seeing a lot of conversation around the MCU in general. Just kind of talking about some of the things that have been going on in regards to the MCU. Let me show. I got all this in the right spot. Give me one sec. Turn that down a bit. There we go. All right, hopefully that's good for you guys as well. But yeah, just I've been since the reviews for this movie started dropping, there's been a ton of conversation like about critics. The critics are wrong. They always get it wrong, or I don't listen to the critics. This, that, and the other. And I think there's a big disconnect between what fans go to these movies to see and what the critics are going in to see and what they have to take into account. And I think there's just a misunderstanding between the two. I don't think there's any need to demonize or villainize anybody on either side. I think it's just a conversation that needs to be had. And as a fan of these movies, you're going in for specific things. You're looking for certain beats to be hit, certain things to be just to play out on screen because you're in love with the IP, you're in love with the characters and all of that stuff. Where critics, they have to take a lot more stuff into account, and they have to inform a bigger audience outside of just the fans. So people who have never seen this movie before, or people who aren't familiar with the franchise in general, or people who are in love with films but not so much the MCU in particular, you have to convey a lot of information to that kind of audience. So it's like all of that stuff has to be taken into account in your review of a film versus, hey, I'm an MCU fan. I love the MCU. Nothing they put out is bad. Here's my review. Like, that's not really a real review or a real critique of what you saw. And, it's like it's just a balance that has to be there. There are critics who go in who like, I'm going to hate this no matter what. That's obviously not what you want to do as a critic. Obviously you should go in being as objective as possible, and giving every film a fair chance, no matter your feelings about the director or the medium or whatever. You should go in and give every film a clean slate. But people do go in with bias and things like that. But I think people are kind of forgetting that these movies have been getting pretty solid reviews, with the exception of a few. But Phase 4 in general has been pretty well received. But I just wanted to go through and just take a look at some of what the critics are saying, and what led us to this 50% on the critic side of the tomato meter. I know people are like, oh well, I don't listen to this stuff, and I don't take into account Rotten Tomatoes. None of that matters. Make up your own opinion and things like that. And it's like, as you should, obviously, but you can get a bit of insight into what to expect from a movie from seeing, people's reviews who have gotten to see it a bit early. And if you're only going to praise it because you got a chance to see it early, then, that's a bit disingenuous. I understand being appreciative of the opportunity and everything, but, if you're giving people your honest thoughts, it should be honest, feedback about, whatever it is you got to get hands on, whether that's a movie early access or early access to a video game or something like that. Just give people your honest feedback. So they're going to make up their own minds one way or the other in most cases. So whether they side with you or they disagree with you or whatever, let the cards fall where they may. But there is a major discourse in recent months about how critics convey their thoughts about these movies, like where they land on it, especially in terms of the MCU. People are very defensive about the MCU in particular. So it's like, if a director comes out and like, hey, I'm not really a fan of those kind of movies, and this could be one of the biggest directors ever, like everything they've ever done has been a hit, and people will immediately meet that with backlash and like, hey, nothing you're doing is this great, or you're just jealous, or things like that. And it's like, it's a bit more of a nuanced conversation than that, but that's where we are with it. But getting down to some of the reviews, you got Quantumania goes big, but it never forgets that Ant-Man is our guy, and this is one of the more positive reviews. So you got 190 critics, giving their opinions on this so far, and that's pretty telling. And Rotten Tomatoes, all they do is just kind of collaborate all of these opinions and give you a final score. So this is going to change, obviously, now that more people are going to have access to the movie starting tonight. And then the audience score will start being taken into account, and you can see things change, whether drastically or more of the same. But, they give, the audience a chance to have their say so that you can take that into account as well. So if it's low on the critic side, but it ends up being like 80% or higher on the audience side, then it's like, okay, this is something more geared towards, fans of this series. But if you're not really a fan, you might feel alienated by this new entry into the MCU. When's Marvel's Avengers game shutting down? It's shutting down at the end of September officially, but you're getting the last update at the end of March. The MCU sucks. I'm about MCU Comics. I'm just kidding. I'm like, the MCU Comics, I guess. But yeah, it's like, so let's look at one of the bad reviews, quote unquote, one of the negative reviews. As is too often the case in this franchise realm, far less attention has been paid to the story. None of what transpires is surprising, which puts the burden on the actors. Again, that's, brief, and it is reminiscent of things that have been said for multiple projects in the MCU at this point. What's up, Luke? How you doing? Oh, no worries, Internet Money. I got you. The movie winds up being confusing and dull. So, again, this is probably coming from someone who's not really super engaged with the MCU or a super fanatic of the MCU or anything like that. So you probably haven't seen a lot of these projects, so you probably don't know what the hell is going on. So it's like, if this is your first Ant-Man movie in the series, you're probably going to be lost because you need context from the first two movies as well as like Infinity War or Endgame. And if you're just coming in blind, these movies don't really take the time to engage and get everyone up to speed. They assume that everyone is up to speed, and if you're not up to speed, hopefully the person sitting next to you can help get you up to speed, or someone online can get you up to speed. The movie doesn't really treat it like it's their job to make everyone incorporated into what's going on in the experience and everything. And that's a fair complaint from the critic side, because when you go into a movie, it's the movie's job to explain things and to give you context and all of that. And when with the MCU, they know their fans are ravenously consuming everything they put out. So they're all caught up on the Disney Plus shows. They're all caught up on all of the movies that came prior. The Netflix shows, whatever you put out a project, they're going to be there for it, and they're going to check it out to see the connections. They're staying for both post credit scenes and everything. That's just how they go, and that's going far from the norm when it comes to movies. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can leave a movie open ended to where like there isn't a definitive conclusion or anything, but typically you want to clue the audience in where possible. And a lot of these MCU movies, they just kind of hit the ground running. So it's like perfect example is like Civil War. This Captain America Civil War is like you jump straight into the action for the most part. Like, you start off with the Winter Soldier on a mission. If you don't know who the Winter Soldier is, you're not going to find out until well into the movie. And then Captain America and the gang, they just show up and start doing a mission. So if you're unfamiliar with any of this, the movie isn't really doing a good job of filling you in on what's going on and getting you up to speed. You're either in it or you're not. And then it's like Spider-Man shows up. You're like, what the hell is Spider-Man doing here? You get what I'm saying? It could be a lot for someone who hasn't been on this ride from beginning to end. Phase 4 wasn't good at all. That's interesting because, critics and fans, kind of say differently. And we'll get into that as well. I will never unsee MODOK. That's something that's funny because a lot of people have been criticizing what they chose to do with MODOK in terms of visuals and graphics. I haven't seen much of them, but what I have seen does not look good. I don't think it's going to look much better in motion because of how rushed the special effects in these movies have become, but we'll see. I'll let you guys know what I thought of it, once I, actually see it for myself. But another positive review, there's action, humor, good lines, great special effects, and the most welcome lightheartedness. Again, it depends on what you're looking for from these kind of movies. If this is what we can expect from the future of the MCU, you can find me in the timeline where I stopped following along. Superhero movie fatigue. This is a thing that's really starting to come to the forefront, and it's unfortunate, but it's like, I feel like a lot of what you've been seeing from Marvel projects as of late is just a symptom of not having any real competition. And thankfully, that looks like that could be changing really soon in the near future, because it really looks like DC is trying to get their act together. And coming from the Super Bowl, the movie trailers that we got during the Super Bowl, The Flash was definitely the biggest thing, that came out of that. Marvel, they dropped a new trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy, but honestly, in my opinion, it looks like you get more of the same. I know they try to sell it as it's going to be more serious than it probably will ultimately be. I'm still interested in seeing it, but again, it's like when people talk about like the Marvel formula and things like that, it's like you pretty much know what beats we're going to hit in these movies. You pretty much know what's going to happen. We're going to follow a certain formula that just isn't going to be strayed away from for the most part. Hate Tom Spider-Man, he's not hood. I'm assuming you meant good, but he's definitely not hood. So I guess if that's what you were looking for from your Spider-Man, you might want to look at Miles Morales' new movie or something. But The Flash they're doing some interesting things over there. You're getting a bit of a different dynamic, but their Flash is a definite venue they can use to kind of incorporate more jokes. He's been used that way in all of the movies we've seen him in so far, and with James Gunn being behind these projects now, I'm pretty sure that's going to be a safe bet going forward. But at the same time, if you've been watching reviews of people who've been fans of the Marvel movies for a long time, one of the biggest complaints that has been consistent is the simple fact that there's too much jokes. Like, nothing about this is super serious. And, people are like, bro, like, can we just have a serious moment for most of these movies? Like, nothing is really taken serious. Like, you see it all the time, like, in the Endgame movie. During the big final battle, there's explosions and things going around, but people are joking and quipping on the battlefield. And if you saw the Ant-Man trailer, you see that happening in this movie as well. He's taking time to tell Cassie how to use her Ant-Man abilities a little better and things like that. But it's it's taking you out of the moment of what should be a serious, serious scene for the most part. And that's a big criticism that the MCU has been getting for years, and it doesn't seem like they've made any real adjustments to get away from that. But after seeing this, like, is this something that could change? Like I said, well, the score could definitely go up a lot, once everyone, gets access to it. So critics who didn't get early access to it, audience reviews, so it can kind of balance out. But if this underperforms, like, I don't see a movie like this making $1 billion, even with good reviews. Like, I just don't see that many people being that excited about an Ant-Man movie. And I know they're trying to make it epic and kind of sell it as this big thing, but it's still an Ant-Man movie. I know you got Kang's introduction in there essentially, but even still, I just don't see this performing as well as something like Multiverse of Madness or Spider-Man No Way Home or anything like that. But switching over to some of the Phase 4 projects. So you got Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. They got an 84%, from the critics, and you got 94% from the audience. So the fans of these movies, they let their voice be heard, and they really really enjoyed it. And for me, the movie, it's a one-time watch. I'm not big on either Black Panther movie because I feel like there's a ton of issues with Black Panther and the MCU in general, but there are people who really enjoyed it. But financially, this movie didn't do as well as they may have projected because a lot of people drew a line in the sand because of how Marvel chose to handle the T'Challa character after the death of Chadwick Boseman. So a lot of people were like, I'm flat out not seeing this. I'm not supporting it. And I have to assume that took a big chunk out of this movie, where with the first Black Panther, you had people going to see that movie multiple times. So that movie did over $1 billion because it had so much support. There were people renting out auditoriums, for schools and kids and things like that to ensure that, as many people saw that as possible. And with this one, you just didn't get that. Black Panther 2 got that. Yeah. Like I said, a lot of people enjoyed it. I feel like it's a mediocre movie with very strong performances. That's my take on it. I feel like Angela Bassett gave an amazing performance. Letitia Wright, everybody involved, brought it to the screen. It's not that great of a story, honestly. And they shoehorned in Riri Williams to set her up for the future of the MCU and things like that. And then it's like there's a ton of things that just haven't been done great with the Black Panther movies in general. So for me, I watched it once and that's enough for me. I don't need to check it out again on Disney Plus, and I'm not picking up on Blu-ray or anything like that. But audiences seem to enjoy it, for the most part, as a one-time watch. Black Widow, another movie where critics are like, hey, this really wasn't a great film. This movie has some major problems. And then you got 91% from the audience. So audience are like, hey, we enjoyed this. We love this. It could be MCU bias, whatever, but those are the reviews. So this movie is another example of a movie doing a lot better with the core audience versus the critics who are looking at this movie a lot more critically. A lot of MCU fans are going to look at these movies and just overlook a lot of their flaws and shortcomings and things like that. So the bad green screen, bad CGI and things like that, that's just a part of the ride at this point, where critics are like, bro, this is super lazy. What are we doing? For a studio that's making billions of dollars hand over fist, why are you cutting corners like this when it comes to your movie productions and things like that? So many directors are stepping away from these projects due to creative differences because Marvel is trying to force them into fitting into their program instead of letting the directors be expressive, which is what you should want from a director when you're bringing them onto a product or a project. But Marvel, they want it to be one way, so they're like, we want you for your name and what you did for other things, but we want you to do it over here and we want you to do it our way. And a lot of directors just aren't interested in that, and they don't want to work under those conditions, which is why a lot of big name directors end up either not working with Marvel at all or agreeing to work with them and then ultimately finding that to be a lot harder than they initially believed. Um, damn well that movie was dog shit. Hey, like I said, these aren't my reviews. I'm just showing you how Marvel Phase 4 performed according to critics and according to fans. So the critics are like, yeah, this movie is mid at best. Marvel fans, it's hey, we'll take it. We asked for this, we'll accept it. You know, but yeah, it's that's the movie. This again there were some things about the Black Widow movie that I did enjoy, but as a Black Widow movie, all this was designed to prop up Yelena as the next big thing. So this movie is written and scripted in a way to make you really gravitate towards Yelena and kind of forget about what's going on with Natasha because she's not going to be a part of the plans going forward. And it's like to do that to your title character is odd, but it's a Marvel movie. That's the kind of stuff they can do and get away with. And the fans of the franchise won't criticize them for that. Where critics are like, hey, what are we doing? Like this is what you do to an actress who has been with you over 10 years. That's crazy. So again, I think I said that recently to you guys. Like a lot of these movies are just one-time watches at best. So it's like I'll watch it. I can accept it for whatever it is, and look at how it sets up or ties into other things. But honestly, I'm not interested in checking this out again or seeing this again or anything like that. I see what the extra money is going to. MCU Corpo is paying people to give good audience scores. I mean, it could be. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like people criticize the critics, and say like, hey, let's just look at the audience, and now you saying the audience could be bought off. You can't have it both ways. It's either we rocking with the audience or we rocking with the critics or something. Like I'm gonna assume you gave a review in good faith. But yeah, just it's a piece of art. Movies are subjective. So just because I think it was good doesn't mean you have to think it's good. There are movies that you think are going to be awesome that I'll probably be like, yeah, not so much for me, or I can't do more than 5 minutes of this. Anything like that. But like a movie that I thought was really good, last year was Nope. And a lot of people disagree with that. A lot of people were like, hey, that movie was boring or it didn't deliver what I was expecting going in and things like that. And it's like, people just fall on different sides of the fence like that sometimes. But, WandaVision. I mean, not WandaVision. I mean, this might as well have been WandaVision part two. But Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Again, critics, you know, okay. That's an okay-ish, Rotten Tomato score. Audience, a little better, slightly above average review, but for the most part, people are showing and letting people know that they just didn't think the world of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. But that's what I'm saying. It's like it's a bit more of a conversation there, especially surrounding Phase 4 that people typically have written off as a flop. Like, hey, Phase 4 was terrible, but a lot of these movies, did well financially or well enough financially. Spider-Man obviously did the best, but as you'll see, some of these scores may surprise you. So if you agree with the scores for Doctor Strange, then you pretty much got what you were looking for from that. I didn't really enjoy Doctor Strange as much as I wanted to because of just problems with the script. Like the writing around Scarlet Witch, coming off of WandaVision just really isn't that strong, and I'm not biased towards her, so I don't I'm not a Wanda stan, so I'm not going to just praise whatever they did. I don't think she was the best part of the movie or anything like that. I feel like the movie was heavily tilted in her favor in a lot of regards, and obviously a lot of people enjoyed that, but I feel like the writing for her character specifically could have been a lot stronger in both the WandaVision show and in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. But it there are a lot of aspects of that movie that suffer because of the way it was written and structured. America Chavez, she was just kind of there because hey, this is the MacGuffin of the movie. This is who is integral to the plot for whatever reason, similar to how they use Riri Williams and Wakanda Forever. I'm always like this close to calling that movie War for Wakanda. I swear it should have just been called War for Wakanda. There's literally a war going on in Wakanda in the movie. It's like I know Marvel's Avengers beat them to it first, but it's like it just feels right to call it that. Eternals. Now this probably was the most Marvel's Phase 4's biggest flop. Um, in terms of both audience and critics. Critics hated this movie, and audiences thought it was just kind of okay. And again, it's like it depends on what you're looking for from these movies. Th- this is pretty much down there like, well, no, because as you'll see, it's kind of reverse when it came to stuff like She-Hulk. So again, it's like, again, this is a movie that has some strengths, has some weaknesses to it, but overall, it's nothing I feel a need to watch again or a strong desire to watch again, and that's the biggest flaw with a lot of these Marvel projects. There just isn't really much passion behind it, and it's like you can tell, like movies that really grab me, I want to see that again immediately. Like Infinity War, I saw that 3 times in theaters because I really enjoyed that movie. I really enjoyed them stepping away from just the traditional formula for that specific project. And Endgame, I saw it once in theaters and I watched it once it came out on streaming. I feel like I'm in the crowd of thinking Infinity War was a lot stronger than Endgame in terms of writing and everything, and just balancing so many different actors on screen for one project. I thought Infinity War was probably one of the best things in Marvel to come from Marvel in recent years. And this, while it has a pretty big cast of people, a lot of these people really just didn't matter in the movie. So like this guy, I don't remember. Okay, let's see who names I remember. Icarus. It's on the top of my head. I can't think of her name right now. Druid, I believe. I think her name is Thena. Something with a K. I forgot her name, but I did enjoy her. She was the speedster in the movie. But but yeah, it's like I just this movie didn't do a great job of making me care about these characters like Guardians of the Galaxy did for a lot of people, where a lot of people got introduced to those core characters and became major fans of characters a lot of people probably hadn't heard of before seeing that movie. So Groot has a ton more fans now than he did have 10 years ago because of the way he was handled in Guardians of the Galaxy. And I don't think this guy has a much bigger following than he did prior to the Eternals movie. That's all I'm saying. I remember no one but Fastos. Fastos. Who is Fastos? Is this Fastos? Because I don't remember his name either. If this is Fastos, then I guess, like I said, I just didn't care. Speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy, critics really enjoyed the holiday special. Gave it a 93%. And audiences, they thought it was pretty okay. Pretty, middle of the road. And again, that's interesting, given that this offers more of what you've already gotten from the Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought it was a fun little short story. I think projects like this are Disney Plus's strengths. Like doing little small one-offs like that is where Disney Plus really kind of shined recently versus a full movie. So it's like, no, I would never want to see a full movie of something like this, because I feel like at that point you're overstaying your welcome. But as it was packaged, I feel like it was fine. I'm not as high on it as critics. Like I said, it's fine. I would recommend it if you're a fan of this stuff. If not, I wouldn't, be like, hey, you have to see this or anything like that. I don't feel that strongly about it. And I feel like I can see why this played out the way that it did. So Honestly, no. I'm confused. I'm a bit confused by critics being as high on it. Like, I feel like if this was like 85%, I'd be like, I get it. 93% is like, you really enjoyed this, bro. You really had a time with Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, and I don't quite know why, but that's where you landed, and audiences thought it was just okay. 79% is probably where I would rate it myself. Hawkeye, another one where you know now this one audiences and critics seem to be on the same page, like they're neck and neck with it. And I feel my feelings on this is pretty similar to Black Widow. Like I'm not one of the people who dislike Hawkeye. I thought it was one of the better Disney Plus shows until we got to the end. But again, for the title character, you're really just using this project as a way to uplift the new upcoming character versus really spotlighting Hawkeye. Like, for instance, we've been at people. There's been a lot of interest in seeing a Hawkeye or a Black Widow movie, and if you didn't feel like there was enough interest to justify one or the other, you could have easily infused both of them into a similar project pre Infinity War, pre Endgame, if that's what you wanted to do, and just show one of their missions or a couple of their missions with Shield. So Black Widow and Hawkeye, Shield agents, you get what I'm saying, and they're out in the field doing what they do, and we're just following along. So you're getting to spotlight them away from the Avengers, letting them get their right to shine without overshadowing them with future upcoming characters. So you could have set up Kate Bishop in that. I was about to call her Kate Hudson. You could have set up Yelena in that series as well, and then introduced them later on without having them overshadowed. But it's like the way the shows were written, it's tilted in their favor. So we wrote Black Widow to uplift Yelena and make audiences fall in love with her so that you want to see more of her. And by the end of it, you don't really care that you're not seeing Black Widow anymore because, oh, well, now we have Yelena and I really like her. She has so much character depth and everything like that. Kate Bishop is so fun and likable. Who really cares that Hawkeye is aging out of the role? We don't really care about that at this point. And it's like, I feel like fans of both of those characters were kind of cheated, in that regard. It's like, bro, we want to see Hawkeye get to do a little more. We want to see Black Widow do more. Pair both of them up, throw Samuel L. Jackson on top of the project, and go from there. You can bring Agent Coulson into the mix because he's been around for a while. You could have really made that a whole thing, and you can tell the desire for it just wasn't there. Why? We don't know. We can speculate, but we honestly don't know. But for what it is, audiences thought what they did was fine. So audiences were high on Black Widow. Audiences were high on Hawkeye. So maybe they made the right move. I personally would have wanted something a little different, but for whatever it was fine. I am Groot. I did not see this. I wasn't interested in this. Audiences didn't seem to be, too high on it. Critics thought it was great for whatever reason, or above average. Why? I don't know. I haven't really seen any reviews of it, but again, it's like, just going back through some of these, they've done all right, especially with critics. Critics haven't hated most of these projects until you get to Eternals. Critics were not having it with this. And then, they weren't as big on Doctor Strange as, they were with some of the other projects. Black Widow was just okay. And then, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Hey, everybody seemed to be kind of, all right, it's fine. But yeah, you get to Loki. Everybody loved Loki. Everybody loved it. Audiences and critics loved it even more, allegedly. And it's like, I don't think the world of those Disney Plus shows. I was really interested in Loki for the most part. I feel like they gave up on the mystery aspect of like who was the variant version of Loki they were trying to hunt a little too early in the project. And it's like once that's revealed, some of the other stuff we start revealing in the series just wasn't as interesting. And by the time we get to the end, it's like all right, this was just another setup project. This wasn't really meant to give you any sense of conclusion or anything like that. And it's like, that's fine. Like, even if you want to go into a season 2 and leave off on cliffhangers and stuff, that's fine. But the end for this show was kind of anticlimactic, in my opinion. But, another phase 4 project that did really well in terms of audience and critic reviews. Moon Knight, critics thought it was good enough, and audiences thought it was a little better than that. I thought Moon Knight had one really good episode, which was episode 5, I believe. Everything before and after that was just like, okay. It's like, I feel like they went way too light on the action. The villain, not great. I don't think any of the Disney Plus shows have great villains. Like, that is their Achilles heel with these projects. Like, the villains just aren't engaging. I don't care about your motivations. Like, we can go down the list if you want. Hawkeye, what was the big bad? It turned out to be Kate Bishop's mom, who, that was nothing. Echo really brought nothing. And then we had the amazing bouncing ball version of Kingpin, who can bounce off of cars and, store windows and all of that stuff without getting a scratch on them. It's crazy. Like, I don't know what was going on towards the end of that project, but it just wasn't great. Ms. Marvel show had the villain. Had what villain? Because what she was dealing with in that show, that was probably the most boring thing, in my opinion, of all the Disney Plus shows. Like, I don't even remember what the Jinn. They were the Jinn, and it's just like a generic cast of people. They just threw, like, I didn't care about that stuff. I was done with that show after like episode 4. I finished the series, but it's like it was just on. Like, that was just something I would have on my second monitor while I'm eating or working on something. I just didn't care. It was a lot of nothing. Moon Knight, you got the crippled Egyptian, white guy characters. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Those final episodes of these Disney Plus shows are rough. I'm surprised to see a lot of these shows having such high reviews or scores. I personally am just not that high on that stuff, but I get it. 100%, 100% from critics. 100%. That's crazy. This is crazy. So critics are telling you that Ms. Marvel was the best of the Disney Plus shows. So it's like, what, you get what I'm saying? Like, goes back to the conversation at the top of the hour. Is like, what do we make of the critics? Because I've seen a lot of people who are like, when critics are down on something, they want to like, oh, I don't listen to the critics, I make up my own mind and this, that, and the other. But if critics praise something you want to do really good, then it's like, yeah, look at what the critics are saying. Look at what they got. They got this, and they said this, and this, that, and the other. It's like, you can't have it both ways. So either we rock with the critics, or we only rock with, or we don't. We can't only rock with the critics when they're saying what we want them to say. That's ridiculous. I'm telling you, man, MCU corpos are paying people for these scores. I mean, if that's the case, then they should never get a bad score. You shouldn't see, something like this then. If they're paying, I don't think this is what you paid for. Like, hey, here's $1,000. Tank that score, take it down. You paying for good reviews, essentially, is what you're saying. And again, I don't know how many people reviewed this. I didn't, this is just a snippet from the site. 100% is crazy. That's crazy. And like I said, that says everything you need to know. If you drop a 1 in chat, if you really thought Ms. Marvel was really good, like if you thought Ms. Marvel was a really good Disney Plus show, I do not share that sentiment. I don't think that. I think that was odd, like including She-Hulk. I think Ms. Marvel was the worst Disney Plus show. She's a great character. I love the first 4 episodes, or maybe the first 3, but objectively, it just got super boring like halfway through. It's just like we weren't going anywhere, and I saw that we weren't going anywhere, and it's like, all right, well, that was the thing. I'm done, I guess, and that's it. Low key forgot about Miss Marvel. That's tough. Miller's checking out Ant-Man now. My show doesn't start for another couple hours. I like Miss Marvel, but I find the villain disappointed. It's like it doesn't even really have a villain. That's the crazy part. It's like the villain is old tradition and racist racism, I guess. It's like, what? What's good, Craig? How you doing? How you been, bro? I know I've been MIA, man. I've been going through a lot, man. Just doing a lot of stuff. I bought a new desk that I have to set up. I'm changing my setup really soon. I'm probably going to do that over the weekend. So I'm making some changes with that, and I got to sit down and bang out a couple videos. But I've just been taking a couple days to just kind of just chill. Just I know I still have people reaching out to me like about Avengers. Like people are really still struggling with the end of that game and wanting that game to be saved and stuff like that. And it's like I'm just trying to let them know like, hey, bro, it's honestly a wrap. You tried to petition stuff. The petition didn't gain any real traction or momentum. The developers just don't want to do it anymore. You get what I'm saying? It's like it was just a poorly thought out game in general. So it's like you gotta let it go. But I'm coming off of that, so it's like now that stuff is no longer bearing down on me, it's like I just been in my chill phase. So I'm gonna go check out a movie tonight. Might do a late stream, come back, share my thoughts on it or something. Might do a stream for it tomorrow or something. But for the most part, I've been chilling out, bro. But appreciate you coming through. WandaVision to me was the best Marvel show for Disney Plus. A lot of people feel that way. I feel like WandaVision was a great show up until episode 6. Everything after episode 6 was mid for me. But that's just me. I'm the voice of the Avengers game. I am far from the voice of the Avengers game. Trust me. Miller is probably the voice of the Avengers game. I'm not the voice of the Avengers game. That game is out of there. And like I said, objectively, it should be out of there. It's like I just wanted War Machine dumped in there because I saw the writing on the wall. It's like at the very least you can do that. You got till September, and it's like that just shows you the level of apathy they have for the game. Like they were just ready to get out of there and wrap it up. And it's like it is what it is. Have I played Avengers at all lately? Yeah, I just played yesterday. I wrapped up the Red Room event, just getting all, finishing that up and everything. But, Miller destroyed the game when he got Brian fired. Brian's tweets got him fired. And, Brian's attitude pretty much got him fired. But I understand the sentiment. But the game was done before that. They just wouldn't tell you about that. So it's like, what they were doing, what they were putting out before that's what killed the game. You can't keep making a game that doesn't make any money, man. Like it's you get, and that's what I'm saying. Like I'm not even going into a rant about that. You cannot, like, if Marvel gave away all their movies for free, they would be out of business overnight, bro. Like you just can't do that. No, it's all good, Rockstar. Like I said, it is what it is with the game at this point. It just was. They were never going to get on top of things. It was never going to make a comeback. I can stream it tomorrow, bro. I can do a stream tomorrow, and just help you guys with raids and stuff like that. I wanted to stream today. I kind of woke up in the middle of the night and went back to sleep probably like at 5-6 this morning. I wanted to pop up a little earlier, and I ended up probably sleeping in until about 2, almost 2. So I got up like at 1. Yeah, I got up at 1. And, I got right up and start, setting up a stream and everything for the day. So, but yeah, I can make some time to stream with you guys. I'm not done with the game or like, oh, I'll never play that again or anything like that. I just haven't really been playing much of anything. The one thing that I have played for the most part was Elden Ring. I'm just grinding to beat that. Finally, I managed to get an Ichigo build going and everything. Having fun with that. But Avengers, like I said, it just isn't. It was never designed as a game you can play every day. Like it just, it, you can burn out on that really quick, especially if you know there's no new content coming. It's like, yeah, you just got to kind of pace it. But I did get my Hulk to 185 recently and all of that, so I'll be around. But yeah, Shang-Chi, as you can see, another highly reviewed MCU project. Yeah, they're still working on new content for Elden Ring. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, audiences like Shang-Chi or like Shang-Chi. Let me say it right because the movie does correct you. I'm so used to saying Shang-Chi from reading the comics and seeing them in other projects, and whenever I see Shang or see the name, Shang, I think of Shang Tsung. Like most people don't call him Shang Tsung, they call him Shang Tsung. So that's where my mind goes to. But yeah, Shang-Chi was dope. That was the end. We kind of go to green screen land a bit, but for the most part, I feel like this was probably one of their more creative projects. I loved a lot of what they did with this movie. Is it the best thing ever? No, but this is a movie that I will probably watch again. Like the way I work, if I know something doesn't really end well, I'm not really inclined to watch it again. If the ending is strong or the ending is really engaging or I really like the ending or it ends in a good place, I'm more inclined to revisit it. I'll come back. So like Winter Soldier, Captain America: The Winter Soldier is like that was my favorite movie in Marvel for a long time, and then it kind of became Infinity War. It's like I really like Infinity War because of the way they end the movie. I feel like they ended in the right way. Endgame ends it ends sort of right. Sort of. I have some problems. I got problems with Endgame, so it's like Endgame is a little more complicated than that. But if a movie typically ends well or a show ends well, I'm there. If I know it's going to get bad halfway through after viewing it, it's like, yeah, I'm less inclined to come back because I know where we're going. The show we all love to hate, She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. Critics thought it was fine, 75%. Audiences kicked the bucket over. They said absolutely not. And like I said, this is a perfect example of I don't think you can take either score seriously. I don't think you can look at either one of these shows objectively and be like, hey, I'm getting a fair assessment of either one, because audiences is combined with people who just MCU and all of that nonsense, and then the critics, we're praising it for nonsensical reasons. We're not praising the show for its integrity or anything like that. We're praising it because it checks off certain boxes that we want to see represented in today's media. And it's like, I feel like you're getting a disingenuous score across the board with this one. So it's like this, you can't even get a honest critique of this, based on these scores. The show objectively is not the worst thing ever, in my opinion. It wasn't super boring. You had a plethora of cameos in the show to keep it engaging. Daredevil's episode was easily the best of the season. The climax or the finale of the show was a shit show. It's a typical Disney Plus show, for the most part. But one sec. But yeah, it's like, a lot of the complaints that I saw from people, for this show specifically, is like you're just making bad faith arguments, and a lot of the praise, again, is disingenuous. You're not being honest. You're just saying stuff. What's up, Arian? How you doing, bro? In here talking about the MCU, man. Yeah, just chilling out. I don't know why today feels like Friday. I'm just, chatting a bit before heading out later to go check out Ant-Man tonight. Spider-Man: No Way Home. Fans really loved it. Critics thought it was great. I would say this was probably the highest rated MCU show, but we know better. Ms. Marvel is the best MCU show. Miss Marvel has 100%. I've never seen anything have 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Crazy, crazy. But yeah, Spider-Man: No Way Home. I feel like this they knew what they wanted. They knew what fans wanted, and just the speculation about what we would get in this movie ahead of its release was fun. So, are there going to be more than one Spider-Man? I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys. I was never that big on any of the MCU Spider-Man movies, like No Way Home. I mean, not No Way Home. Homecoming was fine, but it's like I had some problems with it. Far From Home is like some of the characteristics and traits that Peter has in that movie. I was like, okay, this kind of feels off because the way I feel like ultimately it came down to a disconnect between what the directors of Civil War set up for Spider-Man and what the director of Spider-Man Homecoming wanted to do with that character, because in Civil War, Peter, he's asked specifically by Iron Man, like, why does he, want to be Spider-Man? Why, what gets him out of bed in the morning? Why is he running around in pajamas and things like that? And his answer is like, hey, we're essentially saying, responsibility. I feel responsible because of my powers. If bad things happen and you have the ability to do something about it and you choose not to, then those things happen because of you. So great power, great responsibility. And it's implied that that's something that's instilled in him from early on. So it's like we don't see Uncle Ben die or anything like that. And it's like you just assume, okay, this is Spider-Man. He gets bit by a spider. Uncle Ben, gives him the great power, great responsibility stick, and he's on his way. You get to see him use spider sense in that movie. So Winter Soldier throws like a door at him or something like that, and he flinches. He like, oh shit, flinches, and then grabs it and throws it back at him, and spider sense. And then when you get to Homecoming, people are questioning if he even has spider sense in that movie. Like, does he have spider sense? And then you get the Infinity War. Oh, yeah, he has spider sense. You see the hairs on his arms stand up. It's like, it's a disconnect. There's a big disconnect. And then it's like, okay, when you get to Far From Home, all right, we'll try to, play up the spider sense, towards the end and everything. But they call it the spider tingle now. And it's like, just overall silliness, that I just didn't really like. I prefer a more mature version of Spider-Man. So like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, I feel like he's easily the most iconic Spider-Man that we've had cinematically. And Andrew Garfield is the best Spider-Man who was never given the best shot. So his movies are far from the best. He wasn't given the best scripts. Fans, dogpiled those movies when they came out and everything. But objectively, he's everything you kind of want from a Spider-Man. He's a little too tall for the role. Like, that dude's a little too lanky. Like, he looks like the guy who's doing like birthday party Spider-Man. like that's how he kind of looks. But his suits are amazing. Like the suit designs, the CGI, the screen on the scene, some of his scenes and everything. Like, there's love there. It just got kind of bogged down by studio interference. And then you get the No Way Home. That's kind of like the best of all three worlds, essentially. So it's like you have Tobey Maguire on screen as Spider-Man for the first time in decades at this point, or what it feels like decades. And then you have Andrew Garfield getting a chance to be shown in a much better light than his own movies gave him in a lot of regards. And then you also get to see a more serious take from Tom Holland, who just wasn't very engaging as Spider-Man in the first two movies. So it's like you're really playing up the just a kid angle. Like, hey, I'm just a kid. I just want to have fun. And hey, you went from I just want to be an Avenger to, all right, well, now that I saw that being an Avenger is a lot harder than what I initially thought, I want to just be a neighborhood Spider-Man, to, you know what, I don't even want to be Spider-Man. I just want to play with this girl. I want to follow this girl I like around. And it's like, that's kind of weird coming from Spider-Man. You get what I'm saying? Or what we know Spider-Man to be at that point. And it's like they just kind of took a different route. No Way Home showed us that we just took a different route to get to the Spider-Man that you know. So we didn't do the Uncle Ben dies storyline and he goes through his revenge phase of trying to hunt down this guy. We did all of that. We just did it in a new way. So we used Aunt May instead, and then he has a villain. So a major villain is the person who starts his arc as of really being responsible and understanding that he has, people's lives in his hands in ways that he didn't understand prior to that. And it's like, great, that's cool. And I'm actually interested in seeing where we go from here versus coming into No Way Home. I was ready to be done because it's like, I'm just here for Toby. I'm here for Toby and Andrew and whatever else we get. I'm glad Doctor Strange is in this. Like, they did a lot of cool things with it. It's not the tightest script ever or anything like that, but it delivered on what fans wanted to see for the most part. And you got a lot of really cool action scene. You got 3 Spider-Man swinging around. Like, no one saw that on the bingo card. Like, nobody anticipated in our lifetime we would see 3 different Spider-Man actors all in the same movie, just fighting, iconic villains from across the movies and all of that stuff. Like, Marvel and Sony definitely came together to deliver something special, and that's why I feel like these scores are representative of what both critics and audiences took away from this movie. Like, we all got something we enjoyed from this for the most part. If you didn't like this movie, you're probably not really big on Spider-Man in general or across any other movies, or you're really just tired of the Marvel stuff at this point in general, or you were overly critical. So it's like you went in kind of criticizing this like it was supposed to be Citizen Kane or something. It's like, you definitely can't go into Marvel movies with that mindset. In my opinion, all Disney Plus shows are mid at best, and almost all of the MCU movies have been mid lately as more focus is put into making the movies carry into the next and focusing on a good movie. Yeah, a lot of people feel that way. Let me see if it's next up. Yep, right on cue. Another MCU bomb. So as you saw, like, if you average out, most of Phase 4 has been a success. So, audiences thought Thor and Love and Thunder was okay. Critics were like, absolutely not. And then, everyone loved Spider-Man. Everybody was disingenuous with She-Hulk. Everybody loved Shang-Chi. This is the best thing ever, apparently. Moon Knight, everyone was pretty high on Moon Knight. Everyone was pretty high on Loki. Everybody loved that. Critics really loved I Am Groot for some reason. Everybody thought Hawkeye was pretty okay. Critics really loved the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. This was mid at best, terrible at worst. This was okay. You get what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of these projects are just kind of like either middle of the pack or, it's all right. It's fine. It's good. Audiences really enjoy Black Widow, I guess. And, critics and audiences alike thought Black Panther Wakanda Forever was okay. Though, But so it's like it all kind of averages out, but it's like, yeah, this Thor: Love and Thunder is like, I get it. It wasn't a great movie. I'll never try to convince you that it was a great movie. I didn't hate it. I like some of the things they managed to do in the movie, but it's because I knew what I was getting going in. So it's like when I have low expectations for a movie, that makes it. That allows me to enjoy it a little more than if I go in like, oh my God, this is gonna be terrible or something like that. I didn't like Ragnarok. I really didn't like Thor Ragnarok. Like, I thought it visually was really interesting and engaging, but I feel like for one of Thor's more serious storylines to be taken as a joke, as a complete joke, I thought that was a poor decision. I thought, you really had the opportunity to make the story of Ragnarok epic in a way that none of the movies had been before, and instead we just went with, let's just make a joke of and a mockery of all of this, and audiences enjoyed that. People said, hey, this is great. I felt like that movie had no real stakes or anything like that, and obviously I'm in the minority on that, which is why they gave Taika Waititi free reign to do what he wants to do in this movie. And you got more of the same. You got screaming goats. You got Lady Sif with an arm cut off, and this is being played like a parody. It felt like a commercial or something. It's just nonstop shenanigans, bad CGI, goofiness, and stuff like that. And it's like, I saw this coming. I wasn't surprised by that at all. So it's like, I'm not trying to convince you that Ragnarok is a bad movie. I just didn't enjoy it. And because so many people enjoyed Ragnarok and said they wanted more of that from Thor, this is why you got this bad Thor movie in Love and Thunder, because you essentially asked for it. And I'm glad that, Chris Hemsworth came forth and said, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do these kind of movies anymore. So we need to change something. Change the director, change the storytelling. Something you got to change. I don't want to do this level of jokiness anymore. And it's like, it sucks because Thor is literally one of the last good things about the MCU. But it's like, we keep cramming them down and putting them in a box. And Endgame, you played them up mostly for jokes. One day I'll give a real review of Endgame, because I got problems with Endgame, bro. Like, I legit have problems with the script for Endgame. And Thor and Hulk are two of the biggest problems in that movie. And it's like, I understand, trying to subvert expectations and all of that stuff, but it's like, objectively, I don't think we made the right decisions with a lot of that stuff. Like, just a little nugget. We saw Thor with Stormbreaker put up a better fight against a full Infinity Gauntlet charge Thanos at the end of Infinity War. Thanos had the full Infinity Gauntlet at his disposal and couldn't stop Thor with Stormbreaker. Versus Thor in Endgame, who not only has Stormbreaker, but he also has Mjolnir, and he couldn't touch Thanos with no Infinity Gauntlet and just a double-edged sword. Make it make sense. How did Captain America use Thor's powers better than Thor? Captain America is better at wielding the God of Thunder's powers than the God of Thunder. Make it make sense. That's the kind of stuff that I have problems with the Endgame movie. Amongst many. People really loved WandaVision. Audiences and critics alike enjoyed WandaVision. Like I said, I was kind of down on WandaVision once we got past episode 6, and it didn't really get better. It only seemed to get worse from there on. And again, it's like it's suffering from a lot of the same problems all of these Disney shows ultimately came away struggling with. So you got, WandaVision. I mean, you got a pretty mid villain. I know people really enjoy Agatha to the point where she's got a whole show of her own greenlit. I didn't, not for me. If it was up to me, she wouldn't have. We don't need an Agatha Harkness, Disney Plus show. But this is what people signed up for and all of that good stuff. Thor was too slow. He was fat. I mean, we can put something in front of it, I guess. But it's like, objectively, it's like that literally makes no sense. Like he didn't even try striking Thanos with electricity. He's literally wearing metal armor. You would think, first things first, God of Thunder. Let me strike this dude. Let me strike him down. I'm the God of Thunder. I'm gonna smite you. Something like that. But nah. What you got against fat people? That's a good question, man. What's going on, Dark Avenger? What's your problem with fat people? But WandaVision, again, something audiences enjoyed, I guess. Werewolf by Night, 90%, 89%. I thought Werewolf by Night was fine. I was hoping for the werewolf makeup to look a little different, but it was kind of more in line with I don't know if you guys saw those Underworld movies, but like the hybrid guy, I wasn't really a fan of that design. Like it kind of took me out of the movie. But this was fine. Like I said, these little one-off stories that they tell, I feel like these are their strengths. Like this is fine. The Guardians holiday special is fine. Marvel What If, objectively, this is probably the best thing they've put out. objectively. Like, I feel like this ended in a way that was interesting and also makes you intrigued for what's coming next. I liked a lot of the changes that we saw for a lot of the characters. The Doctor Strange episode was really good. The Thor Party Boy Thor and Captain Marvel episode was pretty good. Again, another example of what could have been with Black Widow and Hawkeye. Like, the way Black Widow and Hawkeye are utilized in this series is good. You got post-apocalyptic Black Widow and Hawkeye with one arm riding around fighting Ultron bots. You get what I'm saying? It's like, these are really good characters that you can do a lot with. You can expand on their characters. You can give them more depth. You can flesh out their background and backstory. You can do a lot. They just didn't. But this objectively was probably one of the best projects, and I don't think most people even keep that in mind. And I see now I forgot one of the projects. I can look that up right now. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. 79% from critics. 83% from audiences. It's crazy. I thought this show was pretty good starting out. Like, you know, I was interested in where it was going. I really liked the stuff that they were setting up for Bucky. And unfortunately, by the end of the series, we just kind of rushed through all of that because we gotta wrap it up. These shows, one of their flaws is they do so much to set up all of these big things and big story plots and mysteries and stuff, but you only have like 6 episodes to do so. And by the time we get to the 5th episode, it's like we still got like 6 or 7 plot threads that we have to wrap up. So what do? Rush through it. Rush through all of that. So it's like all the stuff we set up for Winter Soldier, rush through that. Breeze through the dialogue, the villain, rush through that. Everything is just like, it's weird. But again, it's like, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised in the least by what we got from that. Yeah, it's like the villain. The villain of Falcon and the Winter Soldier was what? Angry little Supergirl. You got a little girl with super soldier powers, or she's a super soldier. You got other super soldiers, and it's like, this is our big bad in a Marvel Disney Plus show. It's like the new Captain America has to fight a super little girl. It's like, come on, bro, what are we doing? Flag smashers were awful. Yeah, it's like, what are we doing? Like, what? How? You get what I'm saying? Like, to have someone be the person behind her pulling the strings and, you know, all of that would have been fine. Who was? What is her name? What is her name? Where is she at? Sharon Carter. What they did with Sharon Carter was short-sighted, bro. I got you, Craig. Appreciate that, bro. If I hop on tonight, I should be home before 9, so we can hop on and probably get a game in tonight. If not, I'll be live tomorrow playing some Avengers. But yeah, the niece, you know, it's like, she's not the Collector. What was her name? Who were they trying to make her be? The somebody. I completely forgot, man. But yeah, it's like some of the stuff was cool. So it's like the Fixer. That's what it is. It's like, bro, the Power Broker. That's what it is. It's like, that's terrible. That's just bad writing, and they recognize that, which is why they're claiming they're gonna move away from that. But it's like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what are we doing over here? And it just seems like, you know, it recently came out that they were saying they don't want people who are fans of the comics or anything like that to be their directors or show creators and writers and things like that. And it's like, it shows, because a lot of the stuff, a lot of the decisions you make don't make any sense, contextually for the characters or what you know for the characters. And it's like, we're just trending in a direction that ultimately makes no real sense in a lot of regards. And this is why a lot of people were down on phase 4, because it's like, okay, where are we going with this, bro? Like, what are we doing? We just, it feels aimless. So it's like, yeah, you got some okay stuff like Shang-Chi, you got Spider-Man, Multiverse of Madness, if that was your thing. And, the Disney Plus shows were exciting for a couple episodes, and then it's like, all right, this, we've come a long way from the intrigue and build up of the first few episodes of WandaVision to like Ms. Marvel. Like week to week, I just did not care, bro. Like after episode 4 was me just like, all right, you got to give me something. And when I saw we weren't getting anything, it's like, all right, I'm good, bro. So it's like, I'll see it when I see it. I'm not staying up to watch that. I'm not, I forget it's even coming out this week. Like that's how bad it got. And it's like Hawkeye is like, this isn't must see TV or anything like that. And it's like, it's unfortunate. It's like you don't have any competition. There's nothing to compete with at this time. Like there's no other movies out at this time. There's no major shows really stealing your thunder or anything like that. DC isn't doing anything. And it's like, hey, hating on the mutants. Hey, that's like I said, if a mention of mutants is all it takes to get you excited, Ms. Marvel deserves that 100% rating, I guess. I require a little more from my writing. when you're telling the story, I want a little more than, hey, mutants, they're coming. Like, bro, y'all don't have any real plans for the mutants. And I'm telling you this right now. You can clip this. When they do reveal who the casting choices are for the X-Men and things like that, people are going to be pissed, bro. Like, certain people are going to be really happy. Some people are going to be like, what the hell are we doing? And I'm telling you, this is why you haven't really heard much about that. Like, you haven't heard any real definitive news about the X-Men or anything like that. You're going to see the X-Men are going to look a lot different than the X-Men you become accustomed to. I promise you, I guarantee you, they're going to look very different from what you are envisioning for the X-Men in the MCU. That's why you haven't heard about it yet. And when you do hear about it, you might not be too happy with what you see. But, what do I know? We'll see. Best thing on Disney Plus was the Netflix shows and old cartoons. Yeah, 100%. The Marvel Netflix shows, with the exception of Iron Fist. Iron Fist feels like what Marvel shows are. It feels like Marvel had a lot more input into the writing and direction of Iron Fist and the Defenders than they did with all of the other shows. Luke Cage, I just rewatched both seasons of Luke Cage maybe a month or two ago. That show still holds up, bro. Like, I hate that we're not going to get a season 3, and if we do get a continuation of it, it's going to be under Disney Plus. And it's like, I just don't have faith that they'll be able to recapture what the original show creators set up with that show. Even if you bring back a lot of the same actors, I just don't have faith that they're going to do that show justice. I'm interested to see what their take on Daredevil is going to be, but it's not going to be what you came to like about it. But me personally, I think Iron Fist is a great representation of what Disney wanted to do with these kind of shows. Like, the storytelling in that show is not great. They cut a lot of corners when it came to action. Like, this is supposed to be the greatest martial artist ever, and that's not conveyed in that show at all. Like, he's telling everybody who will stop and listen to him, hey, I'm the Iron Fist. I can't show you right now, but trust me, I'm the Iron Fist, and I'm going to take down the hand. And they made the hand boring. How do you make the hand? How do you make ninjas, ancient ninjas, boring? How do you make that boring, bro? But they're gonna need to talk about more than mutants. Yeah, it's like, bro, like, just like I got more excited in Doctor Strange when I saw Black Bolt because I was not expecting him to show up at all. Black Bolt is one of my favorite Marvel characters, and to see him still kind of be shook. I hate how he went out. I love that they show how his powers work a little bit, with Doctor Strange or the variant of Doctor Strange, but at the same time, it's like when they rolled out Professor X with his yellow hover chair and played the little X-Men theme and stuff like this. Like stuff like that doesn't really do anything for me, bro. It's like I'm all right. You could have put that in a Verizon commercial or something like that, and like, all right, that's fine. I didn't really care. I was excited to see that he was going to be a part of the movie. So like when I heard his voice in the trailer, I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. But after WandaVision, is like, I don't take this too seriously. I don't put too much stock in it. When we saw Quicksilver from the Fox movie show up in WandaVision, I was super excited. I'm like, oh wow, so they are really swinging for the fences. And then it's like, nope, it's just an MCU joke. And it's like, you got me once, you won't get me again. You get what I'm saying? It's like you can't pull the same trick on me twice. So it's like I don't have any big implications from that movie, or the X-Men showing up in that movie, or a X-Man showing up in that movie. I think I'm more so looking forward to like seeing the X-Men in Deadpool 3. Deadpool 3 is probably going to be a really good representation of the X-Men. I don't know how they're going to make that make sense with the Marvel universe and how it's going to connect and all of that, but I'm interested in that. Outside of that, not so much. But yeah, it's like the Ant-Man movie. I'm hyped for it. Whoa. I'm not hyped for it. I'm interested. Yeah, as you can see, that score is still going down, bro. As you can see, that score is still going down. Let's see. Gotcha. There we go. But yeah, as you can see, the score is still creeping down. It's tough out here. We'll see what the audience has to say. Like, what do you guys think audience's takeaway is going to be for this movie? But yeah, it's like right now, as it stands, I'm way more interested in seeing what DC is going to do with the Flashpoint movie versus whatever the MCU has rolling out in the next few months. Like Ant-Man is not going to change my life. Guardians of the Galaxy is like, it'll be fine. They're wrapping that up because James Gunn is no longer going to be involved. So that's the end of that. I'm interested to see how that concludes and everything. But it's like, again, don't really care too much. And then the Marvels, we'll see. It's like, that's what I'm saying. It's hard to be excited when nothing's really going to change. It's just we're going to stay with the status quo. We're going to set something up that's coming in a few years or something like that, and that'll be the movie. It'll be a one-time watch. I use these movies as an excuse for a date night. Like, it's an excuse to go out, have some dinner, sit through a movie, and whatever. But the movies that I've been enjoying a lot the latest are not MCU movies or superhero movies in general. Like, I know there's a lot of people like that are fans like Marvel and Marvel games and things like that, like tend to really hyper focus on just superhero content. So it's like superhero TV shows, superhero movies, and don't really stray outside of that box where I'm kind of like a jack of all trades. Like I like a lot of everything. Like I just went to see M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin. It's a lot better than I was expecting it to be. I don't know what the audience reviews of that have been, let me see. But yeah, like if you're a fan of Dave Bautista, yeah, like this, hey. Again, it's like I don't go into movies with expectations. I try not to go into movies with expectations. But I think Gunn has sabotaged MCU Guardians film, if not more. Gunn is a double agent. I mean, he doesn't have to. The MCU sabotaging themselves lately. But yeah, it's like if this kind of movie isn't your thing, it's like I'm not going to try to sell you on the idea of that. But it's like checking out stuff that's a little different or a little more artistic and stuff like that is like I try to incorporate that into my viewing as well. But I am interested in seeing what some of the critics have to say. A rock solid adaptation of the novel. There are changes, but both versions of the story work, and both existing is bound to make the conversation analysis of this scenario even richer. This gets incredibly literal, clunky, and actually silly. Interesting. Like the modern world, it so desperately tries to comment on, it's shrill, hysterical, and devoid of nuance, thuddingly predictable too. Maybe Shyamalan just doesn't possess the unsparring nastiness that this potentially upsetting story requires. Shyamalan fans will follow him off a cliff into a tsunami or a cabin into the woods. Why? He takes them there because he can, not because he should. An ambitious idea that doesn't quite deliver, you'll buy into his premise only to find holes that could easily have been plugged, though his cast behave like they're in a better film. Knock at the Cabin isn't greater than the sum of its parts. M. Night Shyamalan is always reliable in delivering intriguing premises that draw you in. This was no exception. While it struggled to land the plane in the final act, Dave Bautista and Rupert Grint are standouts and have an iron grip on your attention. I feel like everyone gave a really good performance in this movie. Again, it's not. I did not come in expecting to do a review of this, but I won't do a review. I feel like you should kind of manage expectations for something like this. So yeah, Rupert Grint or Ron Weasley, if you're familiar with him from the Harry Potter films, he's not in the movie very long, but he has one of the like stronger performances. Like, man, everyone has a really good performance in this movie. Like, Dave Bautista is really trying to break out of the big action movie, hero build guy. He's trying to break away from that mode. And movies like this are great for that. And it's like his character has a lot of heart in this movie that, again, I feel like, these scores are kind of representative of people not really knowing what they're getting into. So if you're going in expecting like a high pace, high action, a lot of like killing and stuff like that, there's killing in the movie, but it's not done in the sense of these people are hunting someone or something like that, or people are after you. It's not like that at all. And if that's what you're looking for, I can understand people being disappointed. I'm not sure how it was marketed to people, but like I said, this is whatever, I guess. But that's just me. Like, I try to watch other things. Like, I don't want, like, if this was the totality of my viewing experiences, I would be depressed. Like, I couldn't function like that, like, at all. Like, at all. I couldn't do it, bro. If they do X-Men and Deadpool 3 right, also Fantastic Four, the MCU would be back in a great place. Avengers had their spotlight, time for the X-Men to lead the MCU. Yeah, it's like the MCU disappoints because it's disappointing for me with the MCU that it essentially wrapped up a big segment of the characters, because again, these people have been doing this over 10 years. I know fans are like, hey, just do this forever, but artistically people are like, hey bro, I gotta stop doing these movies. These movies genuinely just aren't that deep. This character isn't really growing or going anywhere different. Like, let's wrap this up. So Iron Man, Captain America, all of those people getting out of there, it's like, I understand it, but it's like you're bringing Reed Richards and all the X-Men and all these people into a universe that doesn't have Iron Man. It doesn't have, Captain America. It doesn't have, like, Captain America never even spoke to Doctor Strange. And he only talked to, like, 2 of the Guardians. Well, one of them. He only talked to Groot. So it's like, well, I mean, he talked to Rocket. Did he talk to Rocket in Endgame? I don't know. But I know definitively he's never had a conversation with, like, Doctor Strange or, people like that. And it's like, that just sucks, bro. Like, you got Reed Richards, Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, who have always been good friends. Like Hank Pym, like he's not even a part of the core group. Like that dude, they just aged him out of the role, and it's like a lot of weird decisions like that. Is like that's tough. And it's like I guess it works, but it's like as a fan of the stories from the comics and the characters from the comics, it's like to know that when Reed Richards does show up officially in the Marvel universe, he's not really having much to interact with. Like most of the core people you know him to be friends with and interact with in the comics just isn't a thing. We don't have T'Challa anymore. It's like we introduced Namor, who's T'Challa's biggest rival, in a movie where T'Challa is dead. It's like, just stuff like that is disappointing. And it's like it's hard to really get excited for a future that doesn't have a lot of the stuff I was looking forward to at the start of the MCU. So it's like I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of these things play out, and it's like we just really didn't get that. Like the fight between the Hulk and Thanos wasn't satisfying. Like that's not a satisfying conclusion, and now you got a completely different version of the Hulk. The Hulk feels like Beast. It just feels like you have Beast from the X-Men. It's like we gave Beast personality traits to the Hulk, and that's just the Hulk now. And it's like that's disappointing. And like I said, that's the MCU. That's the MCU going forward, and it's all about what's fresh and new. So the new Avengers, who's young, who can we cram into these projects? Cassie is obviously going to be a part of the new generation of Avengers and all of that stuff. And it's like, it's, I just kind of get out of there after a while when you start doing the new generation stuff. So like Pokemon, I used to watch the original Pokemon, and then it's like you get into, oh well, now we got the new generation. So Pokemon Silver, Pokemon Gold, and new Pokemon and stuff. I'm all right. I'm good. Or like Power Rangers. Oh well, now we got the new Power Rangers. Like when they got to like Power Rangers Turbo, I was like, I'm out. I mean, like I said, I'm getting too old for this stuff anyway. But it's like once you start getting into the new version of stuff. Another example, like the 2003 Ninja Turtles. I used to watch that show, and then it's like, all right, well now it's Ninja Turtles Fast Forward or something like that. I'm out. I'm not a fan of those kind of changes because it's never really appealing to me in any real capacity. So it's like I'm not excited for an Avengers universe where we have all of the core characters replaced by younger, less interesting counterparts. Essentially, it's like we never really fully got to explore anything with Hawkeye, but now we got a new Hawkeye. We never got to fully explore Black Widow, but we got a new Black Widow. They're introducing the Hulk's son now. Riri Williams is the new Ironheart, so we don't need an Iron Man anymore. I was excited with the rumors that were surrounding Multiverse of Madness. I mean, ultimately he would have just died. Hopefully, if they do have something like that in mind, they save it for an actual, long-term character. So it's like we're bringing back Tony Stark. Is just going to be a variant, but it's like when they were talking about bringing in Tom Cruise as a variant for Iron Man, it's like, man, I would love that. I would take that in a heartbeat. Just because it's like I'm all about bringing in variants of these beloved characters just so they're there. So it's like Chris Evans was an amazing Captain America, but if we can find a replacement for him that's willing to be here for the next 10 years, let's do that. Robert Downey Jr. was an incomprehensible, Tony Stark. He made Tony Stark likable in a way that the character never was in the comics. And it's like, I love that, but if we can, I feel like it's more important to have the character than have that specific actor be the character. Because, again, comics are ongoing. The comics are forever going on and stuff like that. The comics never end. The story never ends. And you're trying to take that same approach to the movies, and now you introduce the multiverse and stuff like that. So it's like, people wanting a variant of T'Challa. I know the timing of it is weird, and it also feels weird to just completely kill that character off. It's like, what are we doing? So it's like, I'm right now. I'm not interested in the future of Wakanda. I don't care what's going on and what they have planned for Wakanda. I'm not invested in that. my favorite character is gone. So it's like that was my attachment to Wakanda, and it's like I just don't like the direction they're taking things. I don't like how they're handling a lot of those things. But yeah, it's just there's still interesting things you can do. You just have to do them, and what they're doing, like more of this is not good. Like I'm like look at the posters. Like the poster just like it's just all kind of stuff on the screen. Like it's just stuff. You get what I'm saying? It's just a bunch of stuff. Like this is fine. The little generic enemies and stuff is fine. It's like a space epic to a degree, but it's like all of this for Ant-Man, bro. That feels weird. Should definitely been around too. They should have done it because the actor that died playing General Ross was replaced within 3 months. Yeah, but that's a lesser character. Like you don't have any General Ross movies, so it's like I understand replacing someone that's a minor character, but I understand the sentiment that you're saying. Like, hey, well, we can do it for that. If we can accept the new General Ross, we can accept the new T'Challa. But they made it this big thing to where it's like I get it. Yes, the main actor died. So it's like if Robert Downey Jr. died, God forbid. Well, I mean, it's not. I don't want him to die at this point, but if he died, unfortunately, before the Endgame or Infinity War movies were able to come out, do you shoehorn in a new actor to play Robert Downey Jr. mid production? It's like that's kind of weird. But like I said, they swapped out. This is a new version of Cassie. This isn't the Cassie that we saw in Endgame. Why? Hey, that's just what they chose to do. So it's like they swap out characters all the time. I get what you're saying. Yeah, he was there from the beginning, but again, he's not a major character. Like people aren't going to see movies because of who was playing General Ross. Swapping out Ant-Man is would be a major shakeup, compared to swapping out the guy who plays Luis. I know people love Luis, but again, like people like that, Agent Coulson, they're just side characters. So it's like I understand, Marvel feeling like, hey, we can pull a few stunts here and there. It's like, like I said, the MCU is not a perfect thing in my mind. They have some flaws, and some problems that kind of feel like deal breakers at times. But it's like it's weird that they chose to use an Ant-Man movie to introduce Kang, but it's the quantum realm and all of that stuff. Those are terrible posters. I mean, this one is fine. I think this one is okay, to a degree, somewhat. But it's like Ant-Man just isn't like I say, you just kind of played him up for jokes, and it's like even with Hank Pym, like they never really got him right in the comics. It's like he's most known for slapping his wife in the comics like decades ago, and it's like that people are never forgetting that. They're never moving on from that, and they just dismiss him as an asshole. And it's like I feel like Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes was probably the best representation of Hank Pym. So it's like you're not someone you're a scientist before anything. You're not someone looking to be a hero or anything like that. And it's like, yeah, you did it for a while, but this ultimately isn't what you want to do or what you want to be. So beating up bad guys isn't something you get out of bed for in the morning. You want to rehabilitate these people as possible. The creation of Ultron. Hey, this is a docile robot who's here to just kind of help keep a prison safe. We're not here to hurt the prisoners. We're just here to kind of keep them in check and stuff like that. And then Iron Man is the one who introduces weapons to Ultron and everything, and that ultimately leads to the version of Ultron everyone is familiar with. And it's like Hank takes responsibility for that. He's like, yeah, this is my fault, and I'm done. I'm going to walk away from this. And it's like that's an interesting arc for that character specifically. And we'll never get anything like that in the MCU because those movies just aren't about stuff like that. To make this movie hold weight, Kang should kill them all except Casey. I mean that would be that. I don't think people would be happy about that. People love Paul Rudd and everything. But yeah, it's like like a lot of people saw this trailer and were like, hey, this looks like it's gonna be much more serious than what a lot of the other movies have been. This movie isn't gonna be serious, bro. It's not. It's like it's a Marvel movie. The only movie that was accurately portrayed in the trailers as serious and actually held that tone in the movies was Infinity War. Endgame had a lot more joke into it than I was expecting going in, given the circumstances, and Infinity War is like we had a few jokes here and there, but it's like for the most part they played that movie pretty straight, and it's like I appreciated that, and that's sad that of all these movies you got over 20 movies, and we only have really one example of a movie where things are played pretty straight, and it's like that says a lot. And I just feel like there needs to be a balance, because it's like with the DC movies, you're playing this stuff too serious. You're playing it a little too straight, and the storytelling just isn't that great because you're rushing stuff. And then over here is like the storytelling is suffering as well, but it's suffering because you're making too light of a lot of these situations. Yeah, Infinity War was dope in theaters, bro. Like that's why I saw it 3 times. And my only wish for Infinity War was I think it would have been more impactful if characters died throughout the movie instead of everyone being snapped away at the end. There were plenty of spots in the movie where people could have died. Like the only people that died during the movie, the actual runtime was on, or the acts leading up to the final act was Loki and Gamora, and those deaths were, well, Loki one was just to kind of set the stakes to start the film. So we killed off a character that has been known to die, and Thanos' comment about no resurrections this time, that was kind of on the nose, but that's to convey to the audience that this isn't a joke. He's dead for real. The Loki that you know and love is dead. And Thor is there dealing with the aftermath of everything that happened to him. But in Gamora's death, it's like this is to show Thanos' conviction to his plan to get these stones. So it's like, yes, I love my daughter, or what I believe is love, and I also have to commit to my cause. So no, I cannot sway from this course even for you. And it's like, okay, cool. Impactful scene, but I feel like we could have did more. So like when the Guardians first attacked him on nowhere, Drax and Mantis aren't really bringing anything to the story anyway. Like Drax is terrible in these movies. Like he was great in the first movie as far as like character development, but it was like everything since then he's just there for jokes. Like Drax the Destroyer can fight. He's a very capable fighter, and you wouldn't get that from his appearance in the MCU movies. Like everything he does is played for jokes. Like the little jokey stabs that he does on stuff is like that's not super engaging. At least not for me, bro. But like I said, if that's if that's what you like and that's your takeaway from it, is like it's cool. What's up, Dragon Ball fan? How you doing? Appreciate you coming through. Forgot about Hulk. Forgot about what with Hulk? The movie. The Incredible Hulk movie, yeah, they didn't overly do the jokes. I forget that movie is even connected to these sometimes. It doesn't feel like an MCU movie. That feels so disjointed from everything else that came after it. It's like, it's hard to, feel, any connection to that. What's up, Dragon Ball fan? I'm good, man. Just streaming for a bit before heading out to go check out Ant-Man tonight. But, who died? He died in Infinity War? The Hulk. Yeah, the version of the Hulk everybody know and love died in Infinity War, especially coming off of Ragnarok. Like he had a really good showing in Ragnarok, and it's like to get to Infinity War is like you just got folded up like laundry, and that was it. That man packed it in. He refused to come back out. It's like, what are we doing, bro? Like at the very least, you could have brought him back out in Wakanda. What's up, Blue Lion? Talking about movies? Yeah, talking about these poor audience scores for Ant-Man and the Wasp and the MCU in general, like Phase 4. As you can see, the score dropped from 50% to 49%, so critics are not liking this movie at all. And like I said, I'll be checking it out tonight to see what I think. And like I said, if you guys are checking it out, looking forward to hearing some thoughts from you guys as well. But yeah, it's like killing some of the Guardians throughout Infinity War would have been a good call. Um, like having some of the heroes die during that final fight in Wakanda would have been like having Thanos actually kill people. So like having some of the characters die during the fight on Titan when Iron Man and the gang was fighting Thanos. Having people die during that would have raised the stakes. Like really would have solidified like, man, this is not, but it's like it's a Disney movie. I get it. We can't do stuff like that. So it's like we can't have that many deaths, I guess. But it's like as like for a more serious movie, like we could have did some stuff. Yeah, Vision died, but he's a robot, so he kind of got unplugged. You get a new battery in him, he good. So it's different. They seem to take really great actors and don't want to challenge them and make them do comedy because it's easy. Yeah, I think it's just they don't want to challenge the audience, and it's like as as someone who's more into and more engaging storytelling and more nuanced storytelling, that's disappointing for me at times. But at the same time, I also just accept what these movies are and what they aren't. So it's like I know what I'm going in. I know what I'm getting going in. So it's like Ant-Man. I know what I'm getting from this, bro. Like I can tell you right now what my thoughts are going to be probably, but it's like something can surprise me. I heard really good things about Jonathan Majors' performance as Kang. I'm looking forward to seeing it, but I don't think he's going to save this movie, from being mid or anything like that. MCU is second best after DBZ in my opinion. Hey, DBZ been putting out some good stuff. I'm looking forward to Dragon Ball Super making a return, but I did check out the last Dragon Ball movies in theaters. Dragon Ball Superhero and Dragon Ball Broly were both really good. I like those movies way more than what was that Battle of the Gods and the Frieza movie Resurrection F. I wasn't too high on those movies. I don't think much of those, but yeah. They can, man. If Disney Plus has the Tom and Pamela Anderson scandal with full nudity and, I mean, that's. But you have the option to see that on Disney Plus. You have to change your options to see that on Disney Plus. That's not like something that was released in theaters for a mass audience or anything like that. With Infinity War, it's like people are bringing their kids to this, and it's like I get it. I'm not advocating for like graphic deaths or anything like that, but just people dying. I mean, look at the way they chose to make most of the people die. So it's like Loki, you get your neck broken. Gamora, you get thrown down. We don't really see you hit the ground, but we see the aftermath a little bit. Vision, you're a robot, so it's like that's not super graphic anyway. And then everyone else, you just got dusted. So it's like you died, but you just turned into dust. But it's like the way that was handled was enough. It's like this is enough. But the more mature viewer in me wanted to see something just a little more throughout the runtime. So it's like just to just solidify that stakes are really high in this movie. Like they really tried to stop Thanos, and it's like that's another thing. I feel like outside of the killing of Loki, they tried to make Thanos not seem as homicidal as he is. Like Thanos is one of the most homicidal villains in history. This dude literally kills because he's in love with death. And it's like his characterization in Infinity War kind of contradicts what you were seeing from him before that. So like when you saw him pop up in Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's having a back and forth with Ronan, and he's telling him like, bro, if you play with me, I'm gonna bathe the starways with your blood. Like that's not someone who you get what I'm saying? Like that's not somebody who plays around when it comes to death. He doesn't care about killing people. In game, it's like you could have had people die throughout that movie or something like that. Like anything. But like I said, as it is, it's fine. It's an MCU movie. It's meant to be a lighter project and all of that good stuff. Yeah, typically it's like I don't know. Like I said, I try not to have too high expectations for these movies in general. But it's I'm gonna start wrapping up here. I'll try to do something later tonight. So maybe we can do quick review stream tonight or something like that. I might pop up and play some Avengers or something. It depends on how I feel coming out of Ant-Man. But appreciate you guys as always for hanging out. I don't know why today feels like Friday. It's not Friday. Maybe because I woke up late today. But appreciate you guys hanging out with me for a bit. Just talking about MCU stuff. If you got any extra thoughts, drop them in the comments down below. I'll chop it up with you guys later. But definitely appreciate you guys coming out and chilling for a bit. But with that said, I'm gonna wrap up and get up out of here. Catch you guys later. Peace.